Yo, what's up, you guys? It's your boy 3Stacks in this thing, baby. And this is due to a request that I received from, dude, like four people, 3 or 4 people were asking me to, well, 2 of them actually asked, hey, you should do a Darklord deck. And I was like, dang, they don't know? I do play Darklords. Maybe they just haven't seen. And then a couple people asked for updates, and I was like, well, maybe it's been so long since I did Darklords on my channel that some people that are newer to the channel don't know that I actually play the deck, and they asked to look at a build for it. So I'm going to showcase you guys my build for Darklords. It's currently updated. If you check my channel, bro, I have a lot of builds for Darklords. I have 42. No, 43 because this is the 43rd build, but basically 43 builds for Darklords. So I do test the deck a lot. I do tweak it, tried a lot of builds. One of my most degenerate ones was the Arcana Force one, where you kind of just set up turn 1, skip your opponent's turn, and just kill them. That one's pretty fun, but this one is it's a little bit more control. And I like it. You know, it's control minus the side of hand traps. It kind of just focuses heavily on the archetype traps, which are pretty strong traps. But let's just hop into the build. Let's show you guys how I'm playing Darklords right now. I'm kind of trying to play like a turn 1, kind of like a setup for a turn 1 lock. So we're going to start off with triple Yugioh. Now, Yugioh is one of your better starter cards. She's one of the Darklords that you really, if you can, you just want to see this card every turn 1. Without a doubt, she's just, whew, I mean, her stats are amazing. Her level's amazing. Her effect is amazing. And every Darklord that is from Destiny Soldiers has this amazing effect where they can, on field, pay 1,000 life ones for cost, apply the effect of a Darklord spell or trap in your graveyard, and then afterwards you shuffle that card into your deck. So it's really cool. Like how you can just turn hard once per turn effect into I can use it as many times as possible kind of effect, depending on how many are in my grave. So yeah, it's a lot of cool interactions with the deck. Yugioh is one of the best ones. And moving forward from Yugioh, I also play a playset of Nastins, which I call Nasty Boy. Now, Nasty Boy, he's one of the main ways that you can get your field presence if you didn't open Optimal and you don't have a contact or a reborn card, stuff like that. You know, it really helps having the Nasty Boy. It really does. The card's amazing. He's 26 attack and defense, so either way, he's pretty solid. Normally, turn 1, I do summon him in defense. It's just smart for me. But what he does is you discard 2 of the Darklord cards from your hand to summon him, and that once you get a Darklord on board, you can start doing what the deck wants to do, which is play its spells and traps, abuse the monsters, use the monsters to play the spells and traps again, and just start netting some advantage. With Yugioh, you can go into actually a +1, because you can actually just go contact into Superbia into Yugioh, and then use Yugioh, apply the effect of contact, bring back another one of the guys, use their effect, apply the effect of banishment of the Darklords, and then search a trap. And you just get a lot of value and actually end up getting a +1 because you'll end up having 6 cards in hand, which is really cool. So then next up, for your next 3 of Darklord, we want to play triple Superbia. It's really important to play Superbia in the deck. What Superbia is a monster reborn for the Darklord archetype, but he's not once per turn, which is really amazing, and it's whenever he's special summoned from the grave. So you know, he's one of the main ways that you're setting up your board is you're trying to get Superbia into the grave as quickly as possible so that you can use their spell, Darklord Contact, to bring him back from the grave to the field and, you know, net his ability to actually summon another Darklord from the grave to the field, which is amazing. You know, it's really, you know, it's really sucky when they go spell this card because this card is just one of the best ways to get your field presence. And, again, keep in mind he's not once per turn, so you can do some pretty, you know, nutty stuff with this card. Next up, for our 2 of, we play 2 copies of Taz. I call him the Tasmanian Devil. I really like this card. He's a protection hand trap. What he does is if a Darklord would ever be destroyed by battle or card effect, you just discard this card instead. So in the middle of a Chain Link resolving, if Chain Link 2 was to destroy a card on the field and Chain Link 5 was to search, after Chain Link 5 to search resolves, and 4 resolves, and 3 resolves, and then 2 resolves to destroy a card, you can discard this card instead, and it will not interfere. That's why I love this card, because it doesn't interfere chains, and your opponent can chain block all you want. You'll still be able to discard this card because it's a replacement effect. It's like Return of the Dragon Lords is the best way to reference it. No matter what timing it is, it will not miss timing, which just makes it a really powerful, searchable protection. You know, stuff like if your opponent Dark Hole Raigekis you, you can chain Ichul to search off of your banishment and grave, and then grab this card. And then on the resolution of Dark Hole Raigeki, you just discard this card instead. And he's a level 9, so there was a time when I was playing True King of all Chlamydia, but it's just really hard to do so. To make him, you always have to make Chlamydia turn 2, because all the new Dark Lords can only be special summoned once per turn. But it says you can only special summon them in a plural once per turn, meaning that if you soul charge for one of, like, 2 of them, you can soul charge for 2 of them. It's like, it'll say, like, you can only special summon Taz's once per turn, or Nastin's once per turn, which are plural in the S, meaning you can summon multiple of them, but you can only basically special once. Then next for the tools, we also have 2 Raigeki Rados. He is Raigeki on field, and he's really easy to get out. He's the main way that I go into rank 8s, and he's just a really well-rounded Dark Lord. I like him. He helps your going second game immensely. It's little to no effort at all. You can just break a board, bust a board wide open, go into a rank 8. I just love Raigeki Rado, and the fact that his effect is not a hard once per turn is really good. And then our 1-up, we play 1 douchebag. Oh, I dropped my Christia, you guys. I dropped my Christia. But yeah, I played 1 copy of douchebag. I really like this card as well. I nickname a lot of my cards, but his name is Amdouche. I put 2 and 2 together and figured that Konami meant to call him douchebag. But he, you know, his effect, his monster effect, besides the same effect that all of them share, is he can discard yourself in a Dark Lord card to add any Dark Lord card from your grave to your hand. So that can help when you're trying to get your contact back or get your banishment. You can actually combo this card with Foolish Burial Goods to dump any Dark Lord Spell Trap you want, and then use Amdouche to get it from your graveyard to your hand. So yeah, some really cool interactions with that. And then let me go ahead and pick up my other Christia. There it is. Alright, my bad, you guys. So yep, I'm playing 2 Christias. Christia is another one of the win conditions of the deck, but the main win condition is really just through the traps. You're normally setting up a rank 8 monster that negates, that has interruptions, and then you're setting up Christia and traps every turn 1. And because the deck has so much draw power, your boards normally lead to that. But what's guaranteed always is a rank 8 and the Dark Lord traps, because that's searchable, and the setup for the rank 8 is really easy to do so. Christia is a hit or miss, because there's times when you'll draw her and there's times when you won't. If you really want to see her that badly, you can play her at 3, but I just feel that 2 is really good. It helps you to not break so much and to not clog. But she does act as well as a trade-in target, which is kind of cool. Hand chart recommendations. I think that this deck plays Winter Cherries really good. I really think so. I think one of the best hand traps to play in this main deck is Winter Cherries. You know, you can make your Wee Witch with her. You can use Wee Witch to add her back from grave to hand. You can draw her pretty excessively, and she's a high impact hand trap. If you want to play hand traps in this deck, you have to play a hand trap that absolutely changes the game, and it needs to have synergy with the deck. And Ghost Winter Cherries is also a lower darkness target. But yeah, it has to have synergy with the deck, but it has to have high impact, because this deck can break on its own already. And then when you integrate hand traps, just by integrating hand traps, you're increasing your odds of breaking, because if you draw a really pseudo good-ish, badish hand, like an okay hand, but then your 5th card is a hand trap, it's like, it can get really tough sometimes. That's why I've tested with hand traps, but I really like playing it without them. Now for our spells, we have one of our starter cards is 3 Banishment of the Dark Lords. It just adds any Dark Lord card from deck to hand. This is the kind of spell that I wish every deck in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh could have. Like, just very simple. It's hard once per turn. It's not abusive. Well, yeah, you can abuse it. I'm not gonna lie, but it's simple. It's hard once per turn. I wish every archetype just had a card like this, because this is a really good card, you know. And it's pretty balanced. Like, if for example, you know, let's say, what's a good deck? Let's say Goki's got a spell that says add 1 Goki card from deck to hand. That'd be pretty awesome, but you know, they already have enough. But that's just for example. I really wish every archetype had a card like Banishment, had a card like Emergency Call, you know, stuff like that. Then we have 3 copies of Contact. It's a Monster Reborn, but it actually is a starter card. That's kind of, right? That's kind of inverse, you know? When you think of Monster Reborn effects, most people do this extender. It's an extender, but it's really not. It's a starter card. It actually is like your setup requires for you to summon from grave, because the Dark Lord monsters, other than Nasty Boy, cannot really get themselves onto the field through their effects. So you have to use a card like this to just do the job. So you're trying to set up Superbia and this spell every turn, and you just play this, summon Superbia, use Superbia's effect to summon even Christia if you want, because Superbia actually revives any fairy. I failed to mention that. I'm sorry, I'm a scrub, but yeah, you can use Superbia to summon your own Christia. I used to use Superbia in my Herald of Perfection Darklord to resummon my Scepter and do the whole stick chair combo again. And then another powerful starter card is Foolish Barrel Goods. Really love this card and its flexibility. It kind of just acts as three more copies of any Darklord spell trap you want, especially when you already have like a Nastin on field, or you have, for example, the best card Yugioh on field. If you have her on field and a Foolish, you can just activate this, dump this from deck to hand, use her effect to search and put this back into the deck, activate this, dump the trap, use her effect to play the trap during your opponent's turn. Foolish Barrel Goods has a lot of flexibilities. There's a lot of applications that the spell has. That's why I really love it. It's a good starter card, and it just helps you for your setup. It fixes a lot of the problems too, where you're like, dang, like I really wish that I had that one last card like that. That I needed that contact, right? It's like I ended up drawing a lot of cards, but I still didn't draw contact, and I used my banishment to get Superbia, so I can do Yugioh Superbia to draw 2, but I still don't have contact. But you're like, oh, I have a Foolish Barrel Goods, so I'm gonna activate Goods, dump another banishment because the first one already got shuffled, and then apply this effect, search contact, and you know, you just do your whole combo from there. So yeah, Foolish Barrel Goods pretty good, man. It's pretty good. And then we have a playset of Shared Rides. Love this card in this deck. It has high impact. You know, you're trying to set up turn 1 boards, and if you have a Shared Ride plus that, it kind of just makes it really easy for you to win, because you already have negates, you already have disruptions, and it's like your opponent has to push through the disruptions and the negates without searching. But if they choose to search, it's like it becomes that much harder, because if they can't break your board and OTK you at the same time, it's very high. It's highly likely that you're gonna come back on them. So yeah, triple Shared Ride. Then we have triple Allure of Darkness. You know, the deck has a lot of draw power. I like that about it, that while the deck can brick, it also plays so much draw power that it can unbrick your hands. Unbrick being that you can draw into the right cards, the cards that you were missing. So yeah, you know, the deck has its days. So you have triple Shared Ride, you have triple Allure of Darkness, then we have maybe that's better. Then we also have triple Trade-In. You have a lot of trade-in targets, and they're searchable, so the card's always live, never dead. You have Superbias, you have Christias, you have Zerados, and they're searchable, so that's nice. And you can always even use the Amdush to add them back. So yeah, a lot of ways you can abuse your trading. We have triple Pot of Desires. Almost every important card in this deck is at 3. The cards that are not that important are not at 3, so obviously I don't mind banishing them because they're not that important, if that makes sense. Then we also have 1 copy of Monster Reborn and 1 Soul Charge. These help for when you either don't draw contact or you have contact and you still need more for your push. Soul Charge is always nice. And even though the deck pays life points, you actually have a new-ish trap that gains a lot of life points, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, that's it for our spells. For the traps, which is the bread and butter of the deck, we play 2 copies of Rebellion, 2 copies of the Sanctified Darklord, and 1 copy of Enchantment. So one thing that's very special about these traps that I want to point out from the jump is none of them target. So when you're chaining these cards, or if your opponent's chaining to them, they don't know exactly what you're going to hit. So it's not like when a card like this resolves, your opponent can like chain the target. For example, this is the Raigeki Braid. So if you activate this and pop a back row, and your opponent tries to chain the back row while this is resolving, they can't, because the chain's resolving. So if they didn't respond to this, you can potentially out like a protocol. You can out like a personal spoof. You can just out so many different things. And when a card effect is resolving, you can't interrupt the chain link resolving, which is really nice. So the fact that they don't target alone makes them that much better. But this one destroys any card on the field and it doesn't target. This one negates the effects of any monster on the field. And if you do, you gain life points equal to that monster's attack. So because this doesn't target, it outs like everything. It's really powerful. And gaining life points is the most important thing, because you pay life points. There were times when I've actually, I'm telling you, in real life, summoned my Zombie Stein just so I can negate his effect after using him and gain 4,500 life points, right? But then it gets worse. Once it's hit the grave, I use Superbia. I'm sorry, not Superbia. I used my Yugioh to apply this effect and then negate my Zombie Stein again during my opponent's turn and gain another 4,500 life points. So I ended up gaining 9,000, but I paid 1,000. So I gained 8,000 life points in the middle of a duel. So this trap is really high ceiling, has amazing potential in end-of-match procedures, and it's a negate that doesn't target, which is really strong for the Thunder Dragon matchup as well. And then we also have Enchantment. So what Enchantment it does is it takes control of a monster that your opponent controls, but it doesn't target. So you can take your opponent's Thunder Dragon Colossus, link with it. Take your opponent's Thunder Dragon Titan, link with it. You know, you can take, like, just, it doesn't really matter. You can take anything with this card. As long as it's not unaffected by traps, you can take it. And your opponent has to use their hindsight when you use this card because they can't anticipate exactly what you're going to take. They just have to think, oh, he's going to take my best monster. But a lot of times it's really clutch because you can take it, still use their monster's effect, link with it, or just, you know, if you want to use it as an XYZ material, depending on the level, you can do that. Now for the extra deck, I play one Wee Witch, one Unicorn, one Cerberus, one Nightmare. That's it for the links. You don't actually need to open up link zones. Like, this deck goes into one extra deck monster per turn. That's pretty much it. So Wee Witch is nice because you can go into one on one turn and one on the next turn. But this deck doesn't really spam recklessly into the extra deck because all the Dark Lords can only be summoned once per turn. So it's like, it's very often when you can go into multiple extra deck monsters in the same turn. So normally your in boards are always like Felgrand or Titanic, you know, plus the traps. You know, you just want to negate. Or sometimes if you couldn't search the monster negate trap, you end on Lord plus, you know, the Raigeki, plus the Raigeki break trap and the monster snatcher. Now for our XYZs, we play 1 7 Sins and 1 Tarantula. I cut the other spider because it destroys based on defense, and I kind of don't like that because links don't have defense. But this one, it gains life points. It gains attack based on the difference in our life points, whether mine is higher or yours are higher. Whatever the difference between our life points is, it gains attack. So basically, whether you're winning or you're losing, this monster can be a beater regardless. And then we have 7 Sins, which is probably an MVP. It's a 4K attack and defender. And then what it does is it detaches its material, and it basically banishes all special summon monsters on the field, and then you can attach one of those monsters under it as a material. So it's a board wipe that doesn't target or destroy it, and it absolutely just banishes everything. Like, it's insane. This card's amazing. And then whenever it would be destroyed, you just detach a material instead, and that effect does not activate, so your opponent can't negate that if it protects itself. So it's a really good card. So it's a little tiny spider package. We have a Super Door. We have 1 Garangari. Now the Super Door is actually supposed to be my train. It's supposed to be this card right here. It's somewhere, but it's there. It is. There it is. It's supposed to be this card. But I only have one of this, so I kind of just share this with all of my decks that can play it. So I have a door here in its place. But this door is actually the Gustav Max. The reason why I prefer the Gustav Max over the door is actually simple, because I want to be able to burn my opponent for 2k and just win in a match procedures. And the same reason for Gungardi, it pops a card and then burns for 1,000, which is really good. You can outstuff and burn, and you know, it's a 34 beater. Then we have some rank 8s, starting with the Galaxy package. I have a full Galaxy package. Lord, Cypher, full armor, and Cypher Blade. You know, this helps going for second. For going second, you can just snatch a monster, and then overlay and then pop a monster, and then go Cypher Blade, you know, and pop another card. And then you can activate your Darklord trap to snatch another monster, and then you can link away your whole board into Nightmare Unicorn, or you can link away into Cerberus and then pop another monster, or link into Fiend. You could just break boards with this package, like literally break boards like entirely and completely. And then Full Time Lords for the monster negator. So for your turn 1, you're setting up with one of these 3 rank 8s depending on the situation. This one's anywhere monster negator, but this one only negates monsters on field, but it also protects itself. And then Titanic is for your Sky Striker matchup. And then lastly, we play Zombie Stein. He's an anything negate, any face-up card. He even negates evenly matched. But I really play him because I just like using my trap to negate his effect and gain the life points. Because if you read the card, it negates a monster on the field, not your opponent's side of the field. I'll read it to you if you don't believe me. Send 1 Darklord monster from your hand or face up from your field to the grave. Negate the effect of 1 effect monster on the field, and if you do, gain life points equal to its attack. So yeah, you can use it on your own monsters, which is probably the best way to do it, because a lot of people don't have a 45 beater, and you need those life points, right? So yeah, that concludes my Darklord deck profile. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Tried to make it as spicy as possible, but still sticking to the roots of the way the deck is meant to be played, in my opinion. So yeah, thank you guys again. I hope that you enjoyed it. Leave me your feedback in the comment section. I do read your comments. I really do. I appreciate you guys so much. Peace, man. Have a beautiful night, all right?